We are Stoic Bros.
Welcome to the YouTube Stoa.
Stoa.
Well, welcome to the Stoa.
Welcome to the YouTube Stoa.
So, welcome Internet, welcome to our Stoa. I like that one.
Yeah. Welcome Internet.
Yeah.
Welcome to our Stoa.
Welcome Internet. Welcome to our Stoa.
What he said.
Yes. We're starting off, this is video number 2. We're going to be covering the principles in the next series of videos. There's 4 major ones right now. The first one we're going to cover, as it's labeled, I'm sure there was a different word that was used when it was originally written in some Latin language, but in English we're going to call it wisdom. Wisdom, again, definitionally, you'll sit there and say, well, somebody that's wise and somebody that's, lived a long life, and they tend to attribute that to age, or they tend to attribute that to intellect, but Stoicism specifically, or at least as we're interpreting it, is a bit more abstract. And I think that most people feel that they're wise, but don't know what wisdom is. And again, they feel entitled to, ironically, the title of wisdom, but don't know really what wisdom is. If you just kind of want to dive them down, a little segue.
So I think some people are getting wisdom confused with knowledge. And when you look at the definition of wisdom, yes, knowledge is involved, but being knowledgeable about something doesn't make you wise. Using knowledge helps wisdom, but you also have to have experience, you have to have self-awareness, you have to have a pretty good understanding of yourself and how you feel about things, I think, to really get like a true definition of wisdom within yourself. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the thing that they conflate, kind of like you said, is like knowledge or the application of knowledge. Like, hey, I'm good at math, so that makes me wise.
Wise at math. I'm wise at math.
Sure.
No, you're knowledgeable at math.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think a lot of it comes down to application.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that, if you think about like the Hawthorne effect, is something that we learned a lot. If anyone's got any experience with science, that the second you measure something, you're inevitably changing it. So you're getting the results of something with you messing with it. That blade of grass is this tall before I touch it and pull the ruler up to it. Wisdom is understanding that correlation between you and kind of the internally flawed being that we are in interpreting the knowledge that we're creating. If you wanted to make like a simple analogy, if you look at the color blue, if everyone sat there and stared at the color blue, a smart person, let's just say somebody that's at least a baseline level of intellect, that can point out after grade school, hey, that color is blue, and everyone in the class will agree with that.
Blue.
But blue. Yeah.
I have a slight bit of intellect.
Yeah. Somebody might say, well, that's, you can start arguing about shades of blue, you can start arguing about all that stuff. You get like a next level of intellect where someone starts to say, well, in this lighting, yes, it could be blue, but if you throw a black light on it, and then you start talking about the way that the eyes interpret color, then you start talking about that really what you're seeing is light refracting off a surface at a certain wavelength that creates in your mind, and what your mind interprets as blue. Again, that person is starting to operate at a higher level of understanding. So even though y'all are both coming to the same conclusion, the more wise person, I guess if you want to say that, has a more in-depth understanding and can deal with the idea and will accept the fact that, hey, because of everything I understand about this, maybe it's not blue. I could be looking at brown, but my eyes are telling me what my eyes are telling me.
Right.
And I just have to go off of what I have.
So that brings up another good point that we talked about, was perspective. If you don't have the correct perspective, you can't really say that you're wise about something. And the problem with that is your perspective doesn't match everyone else's perspective. So again, it just brings us back to the self-awareness. And I think how you apply this in like a Stoicism virtue is, if you were truly to be considered wise, you're going to go through your day, your week, your month, your life, and making decisions about things, you're obviously going to use your knowledge. You're going to use your experience. You're going to use common sense. You're going to use all of these things put together. But to really do it in a wise way, you have to be logical. You have to be informed. And you have to, again, kind of pull back your emotional feelings about something when you make a decision. And I think when you really break it down to those levels, like, do I know everything about this subject or topic before I'm making my personal decision about it? Am I thinking about it logically? Am I amped up right now? Like, did something happen where I am dealing with some emotions about something? It's like spending money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many times have you been like, oh my gosh, this new thing came out and I have to have it, like my iPhone? That, whatever, man. But you get this emotional reaction to it, go out and buy it. Did you need it? Is there anything special about the thing that you just bought? Did it replace anything that wasn't working for you before? That's where I think you need to step back and really think about decisions. I think decision making is where people become wise. I think that's the biggest part of your life that you could focus on, is the decisions that you're making daily. Like, you have to make decisions, several of them every day. And if you look at it from a logical, informed, calm perspective, you rely on your knowledge, your previous experience. You can make a wise decision about things.
And I think to separate, because I don't want anyone to get confused and think that nihilism and that stoicism is similar. They're not. And because what he'll talk about specifically the phone, there's instances where that phone makes perfect sense. There's instances where, but again, you want to reach that conclusion. Again, talking about the same thing with, we're both seeing the same color blue. You're seeing that phone purchase as, hey, I'm buying something that's reliable. I'm buying something that's going to be backed up and that I can insure. I'm buying something I can track if somebody steals it. When you're going at it from that perspective, I like the idea of putting an Apple sticker on the back of my car.
I don't know that.
Well, all I'm saying is you separate yourself, and again, we talk about objectivity. We'll have a whole other video on objectivity, but part of that, you're unable to be objective. You're unable to do a lot of this stuff if you don't first kind of start off in your perspective. This is something that we work on. There's very specific things that piss me off right off the bat. And I already know if I'm walking into that environment and I can feel myself getting, again, like he was saying, pretty amped up about something, I'm walking into my weakness. I'm walking into where I know I'm flawed. That's when, again, the Stoic principle of wisdom is, hey, understand I don't have it here. Understand I don't. For this whole project, we had to both build PCs. And we looked at each other like, well, we might as well have been monkeys and been figuring out what fire was. We had no idea. And so I went and consulted somebody who was more wise than me because they had the experience. They had the knowledge. They were able to explain the difference in between RAM and SSD and HDD, all that kind of stuff. And so, it's not... wisdom, when you're a Stoic, or I guess a study of this philosophical perspective, it's not about gaining it to have it and being proud of it. It's gaining it to have it so that you can then give that out to somebody else. You can then be that resource for somebody else. This entire thing is cyclical in nature. And that I'm doing my best to stay grounded and to stay humble and to approach wisdom like the commodity that it is. It's not knowledge. It's not being able to prove somebody wrong and say, hey, you're an idiot, you're whatever. It's maybe, you almost go as far as pitying somebody that doesn't want to chase that kind of wisdom and that kind of grounded perspective. And then being proud of and holding yourself, not to be pompous or not to be arrogant, but to say, hey, I'm able to think objectively about these things and make good decisions and help influence the world around me in that way.
And then as you continue to gain knowledge and experience, you're obviously going to become more wise. And if you use it correctly, you're going to make better decisions down the line. Which, that's the whole purpose of this. It's just becoming better in your day-to-day life. That's literally the whole purpose of trying to live with these virtues, trying to live through this philosophy. it's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being the best version of yourself. Because the best version of yourself can go out and help other people. You might be able to do something or create something or make something or give someone something that really improves their life. And that's all because you're functioning at your best. And it's not to go around and say, I'm better than you or I'm better than you for this, this, and this. None of that stuff matters. You should want to gain this stuff solely for yourself.
Something that we're going to do down the road, and again, this is kind of part of our just establishing what we're about and all that stuff, is that approaching people that we do find wise, whether it's in commerce, whether it's in business, whether it's in, again, philosophy. Again, we're 30-year-old dudes that are just figuring it out. I can help somebody that maybe doesn't have the same experience I do. I'm sure there's somewhere out there a 20-year-old that's way more wise and intelligent and put together and grounded than I am.
Could have more experience than we do.
Absolutely. And so, what we're hoping is that this Stoa, that we're making here, that we can bring people here. You can kind of figure something like TED Talks or something like that, but with, again, that idea of objectivity and something that's a little more consumable and maybe more niche. And we have some more user feedback of, hey, I want to see it applied here, or I want to hear what this person has to say, or I want you guys to go interview that person or this business and talking to these types of products. So.
Also, let's be clear, just real quick. This is just how we feel.
Yes.
This is
110%. Yeah.
This is a very long-standing old philosophy. This is our interpretation. You don't have to agree with us. You don't have to agree with everything we say. You might disagree with things that we say. But at least open your mind up to our perspective to have a discussion about it, because that's the only way that people get to learn things. And that's the only way you're going to learn something about another person, is if you open up to their perspective. So us doing this video, telling you all these things, it might sound like we're trying to tell you that this is how this is and this is the definition. This is strictly our interpretation, strictly our perspective of how we see wisdom and how we feel like applying wisdom to a day-to-day Stoic lifestyle is beneficial.
And I guess to bring it all back into one thing, if I could try to think of, at least for me personally, the biggest, I guess, metaphor or I guess synonym that I want to go with as far as wisdom is empathy. That it's not, I don't know that I'm right and feel bad for everybody else, as I understand that they maybe haven't gone through the journey that I've gone through to get the kind of wisdom I have. There's that idea that youth is wasted on the young, because they have all this energy and all this stuff, but they lack the experience and they lack the understanding. And that once you're old and crusty, you understand everything, but don't have any time and any care to further yourself or better yourself, and you're now an old dog that refuses to learn new tricks. We're trying to kind of bridge that gap together and have younger people that understand it. We're a portion of that as older millennials, that we're like, hey, there's something the older generation really can bring to me. People that grew up without the internet, without MapsCo, without something, they can adapt to,
That's huge.
They have a different understanding and approach to things that I can really learn from. Whereas the younger generation, who has access to all this stuff, is also like, yeah, but I know how to quickly inform myself. I know how to quickly educate. It doesn't take me 4 years and a bachelor's degree to go and become, maybe not a subject matter expert, but somebody competent enough to make good, moral, virtuous decisions on something. And it's somewhere there in the middle. That's where a Stoic is. That's where a happy Stoic is, and that's where he'll always feel, is somewhere in between, having the energy to go in and seek out that knowledge, and always being somehow behind the curve. And it's not like Sisyphus, where you're just pushing the rock back up the hill and feeling like you're not getting any progress. It's, man, I'm really grateful that I went through this journey, and at least I'm at this point of my hill. And in my journey, at the end of it, when you die and whatever, I guess we'll put our finish flag on life, I'm so much further ahead than I would have been had I never approached, with the Stoic perspective and all that.
And also, like you said, it's not pushing a boulder up a hill. You shouldn't look at it like that. You should look at it as continuously learning experiences and knowledge throughout your life. If you're not trying to learn something new, you're stagnant. You're not You're not going to grow. You're not going to get anywhere. And you're never going to become wise. And honestly, you'll probably never be completely wise because there's always something you can learn. There's always something new you can learn. There's always another perspective you can seek out. So I think for us, this is the one that we wanted to start everything off with because it's very foundational. It's, this has nothing to do with the careers that we've chosen up until this point, but we've, sought out all of this knowledge to try and make these videos and bring this out to the world because we think it's important. And we've gained knowledge and we're gaining experience from it. We're trying to up our wisdom.
I think, like I said, just to tie it all in, I hope you guys get to join us, in our Stoa, and as our Stoa moves to go find more experts and all this stuff. This is really also a journey for us in that we're hoping to open our eyes and broaden our perspective to everyone else. And in this kind of weird time that we're living in now and moving forward into the future that's unknown for everyone. Mm-hmm. We hope that, this community and the community that we hope to develop grow together, and in that empathy and in that collective wisdom, that as humanity we can kind of better ourselves and not regress into kind of a hateful, ignorant, bigoted, and biased group of people that don't realize how much more we have to offer each other rather than how much we can take from one another. So, if you're good and you don't have anything else, this is, again...
Stay stoic, bro.
Yeah, stay stoic, bro.
Goodbye, Internet.
Bye.